remarks, and now we will get on with our program. So I'll pass this off to Alex.
Thank you, Morgan, for the icebreaker. And thank you, everybody, for joining and getting to learn a little bit about Neptune and Attune. This will be a whole flood and coding overview of our two systems. I definitely want to talk a little bit about some of the highlights from 2021, some things we definitely learned from that cat season and some of the major events of that storm season, as well as how to self-flood and also how to utilize our two systems and how they work together. Before we dive into that, though, I do want to go over who is on the call. I'll let the Attune team introduce themselves first, as you may be familiar with them already.
Hey everyone, I'm Nidhi. I'm the product marketing manager working on Neptune Flood.
I just introduced myself, but if you didn't catch it, I'm Morgan. I use they, them pronouns, and I am the marketing associate for Attune.
Hi everyone, my name is Shane. We actually need to update this slide. I forgot to tell everyone beforehand, but I'm the carrier partnerships lead here. So I oversee our Neptune product along with our other digitally distributed products to make sure that it's the smoothest process for everyone on board.
And the other person with the cool background is Jean-Luc. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here with you all. Beaming in from Tampa, Florida. I'm Jean-Luc Eckstein. I'm the Chief Customer Officer at Neptune Flood. I oversee the sales and services teams here and working with our critically important partners such as Attune. So excited to be here and ready to answer any and all questions as it relates to flood and any that happen to keep you up at night.
And myself, I'm the Director of Commercial Lines Distribution. And as Jean-Luc said, feel free to go ahead and put any questions in the chat box. We'll all be monitoring that. And really try to answer any questions as they come up. But everybody on the panel, feel free to stop me if any important questions come up that we should go over right away as well. So 2021 year in review. 2021 was a very busy and stressful year for a lot of people. In 2021, we did partner with Attune in August, right in the middle of the hurricane season, really trying to combine our two technologies and our approach to insurance to make it easier for agents and small business owners to get small business insurance. That combination really allowed that one-stop shop, whether it be flood, BOP, the many other products that Attune offers, as well as cyber from Coalition acquiring Attune, all those different products being available to you in one place so you're able to properly insure your clients. Attune and Neptune also have a very similar distribution model, really valuing the independent agent and broker, really trying to make that experience as easy and best for them as possible. So any feedback you ever have, definitely reach out to us. We're always trying to learn and make our products better. Speaking of some major milestones that did occur in 2021, Neptune acquired Jumpstart, which is a parametric insurance company and is part of our parametric insurance brand. Right now, we are offering parametric earthquake coverage in California, Oregon, and Washington. And we also crossed 100,000 policies. As I mentioned as well, Attune was acquired by Coalition, along with many other milestones for their team as well. As I mentioned, 2021 was a pretty devastating year for catastrophic events, whether it be wildfire, earthquakes, but speaking of flooding in particular and hurricanes, Hurricane Ida was one that really grabbed a lot of people's attentions. It was probably the most devastating hurricane of that season. We learned a lot of lessons from Ida, but we learned a lot of lessons from every single storm that comes through. That's really what allows us to be able to continually improve our product, whether it be our coverages, the way we respond to claims. So here are a few lessons that we learned from Hurricane Ida. Number one, properly insure your clients. The NFIP goes up to $250,000 on their personal lines product and $500,000 on their commercial product. A lot of Neptune agents also kind of mirror those limits as well. But many of our Ida claims are actually well above those policy limits, showing the devastating nature of those hurricanes and those flooding events, where losses can exceed the limits even when they're at $500,000. The second thing that we noticed was that flood zone does not matter, or that they're just somewhat wrong. This is not just with Hurricane Ida. If we look back to Harvey, about 70% of the claims in that major storm in 2017 were in X zones or non-mandatory zones. Based on that zone, it said that you do not need to get flood insurance for your loan. With 70% of the claims in Harvey, I think a lot of people, especially in the Houston area, realized it was definitely important to offer it to their X-Zone clients. And then after Ida, we noticed about 12% of our claims were also in X-Zones. After that event, many New Jersey and New York agents started purchasing X-Zone policies for their clients, as they realized that even if the map doesn't say you're not in a flood zone, wherever it rains, it can flood. Especially with a storm like Ida, where we expected it to hit Louisiana, it ended up traveling all the way through the country, all the way over to the East Coast. So even those unexpected events, those can occur. So don't just look at a flood zone when trying to determine whether a client needs flooded or not. The last item would be if your client has a basement, say so, but this really applies to all questions. Attune and Neptune both have a very easy system for entering in that underwriting info. Neptune only asks about 10 to 15 questions, so it can be something that you move through quickly, but it's still important to take the time, verify that information, and reach out to your clients and make sure that you have all of that correct. Some other updates I want to bring to your attention. These are some big ones. Number one actually came across after Ida. We had some larger claims for buildings over 100,000 square feet. So we now have a maximum limit of 100,000 square feet of purchasing building coverage. Definitely something to pay attention to. Number two is a increase in what we can do across a couple different lines. So for habitational commercial, which really comes down to apartments and RCBAP, which is the condo form, we are increasing our condo form to 10 million from the current 4 million. So over double the amount that we were previously doing. This translates to about 200 units per building that we will now be able to write on our system. The second thing that we're adding is a 500,000 loss of rent coverage. This coverage will be specifically for apartments, and this will really allow us to write the full account with a lot of agents. Right now, many lenders with Fannie and Freddie, they require loss of rent coverage on apartment buildings. In those situations, they can do primary with Neptune, but we just didn't have the loss of rent coverage to be able to do the full account with us. By having that $500,000 of loss of rent and the $4 million of building coverage, it now makes it feasible to be able to put a full apartment complex or building with Neptune in many scenarios. The third point really ties into the NFIP, and that has to do with replacement cost valuations and estimates. 2021, speaking of another major event in 2021, I almost slipped my mind, was Risk Rating 2.0. That went live for renewals on October 1st. Went live for new business on October 1st of 2021, and went live for renewals on April 1st of 2022. This really disrupted the industry. Since 1968, the NFIP hasn't really made many changes to their quoting system. And this really threw a lot of agents off and really created a lot of uncertainty in the market. One real change that they have implemented is requiring replacement cost valuations and estimates. You may have seen that on some of your renewals where you need to provide that before you can get a rate. That is just another extra touch point and more time that you need to take on that renewal. So when you see how quick it is to run Neptune, if you're already going to be touching that renewal with the NFIP, you might as well hop into the system on Attune, run the BOP, run a monoline flood, run both, and see how that compares to the NFIP rate. For number 4, I'm going to pass this one off to Jean-Luc as he helps spearhead this update, but I'll go ahead and let him talk about that.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, so keeping close to the core of our value and really trying to make sure that we make it easy for you all to sell and obtain insurance for your clients. We are looking at additional ways to make that to continue to make insurance easy and additive for you. One of the ways that we just did this is we just launched a artificial intelligence chatbot through our partner Ada. We call it the Poseidon virtual assistant bot. You will see this in the lower left-hand corner of your screens. This bot is situationally aware. So when you're logged in, it knows who you are and it can help assist you in a variety of ways. This also goes for your insured. We launched this on Thursday night of last week. So basically about almost a full week's worth of time so far. And out of this, so far, it's been used mostly for any FAQs. You can pay for your policy through that chatbot. You can obtain policy documents through the chatbot, do endorsements, and even cancel. So those are the 5 categories that it's been used so far the most. But more to come as we continue to add in phone support through the chatbot, video support through the chatbot, but we want to make it as easy as possible. Additionally, if you prefer, or may any of your insureds prefer, to engage with the bot in Spanish, it also can do that. And so we're excited to fully launch this and continue to come out with version 2 and version 3 of this bot in the coming weeks and months ahead. Alex, I'll pass that back to you.
Thank you. So yeah, that's a pretty exciting development. It's about a week old, as Jean-Luc mentioned. So definitely interested to see how that progresses and continues to make that easier on you when operating with Neptune. The last and final point I want to talk about is Neptune's average premium for commercial is about $3,200. But the second bullet point underneath that I brought in here because I noticed a lot of Attune agents actually, especially in the New York and New Jersey area where we were talking about X zones, been purchasing contents only policy for their clients. Could be as little as 50,000, but a lot of those types of policies have come through from Attune agents where in an area like New Jersey, New York, where they experienced Ida, having to be the ability to go ahead and get a policy for under $1,000 for contents only. Maybe they're not in a flood zone, but they just want to cover those, the business personal property. Definitely an option. You don't always have to do the full large limits. There's a lot of different options that we allow within the portal that really fit whatever needs are of your client. At this page, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and reshare on another page here for you. So give me one moment to switch over. One second. There we go. Are you seeing the Experience Triton page? We should be seeing a map of the United States pull up here.
It's loading, Alex.
Okay.
The map's there now.
All right, thank you. So I brought us to this page here because I think it gives us a good overhead view and also a good opportunity to talk about some of the nuances of Neptune and how we actually go ahead and quote. There's a lot of big words out there in the industry, artificial intelligence, algorithms, and how does that really operate? How do you explain that? I think this visualization is quite helpful in that. So if we're looking at this page, what you're actually seeing is every single flash on the screen is where an agent is quoting right now in real time. Thousands of quotes are being processed every day from on the Attune website, from our other partners. This is showing everywhere that agents around the country are looking for flood insurance. You can definitely see along the Gulf Coast and Eastern Seaboard, flood insurance is highly popular. We see New Jersey kind of freaking out a little bit right now, a lot of people quoting there. But all around the country, people are looking for flood. And that really ties back to that conversation we were having about it's not just in those flood zones. You could be up in Montana, North Dakota, Idaho, parts of California, all around the country. In every state that we offer flood, someone has run a quote there today. Speaking of the places that we offer flood, we offer it in 48 states plus DC. The only 2 states we do not operate in are Alaska and Kentucky. The reason we don't run in Kentucky is because we use a lot of data when running our quotes. Every flash you see, we are individually rating that property. In Alaska, we just don't have the data necessary to do that as accurately as we would prefer. In Kentucky, they have some complex E&S laws. We are working through that, and we do expect to be in Kentucky by the end of 2022. So not only can you see where Neptune is writing, but there's also some very interesting points happening behind the scenes. You may notice that there are green flashes and red flashes on the screen. Neptune says yes to about 97% of the addresses entered. All the green flashes represent where we are saying yes, and all the red flashes represent where we are saying no. 97% is a very high acceptance rate, and we're offering flood in the majority of the areas of the United States, whether it be a coastal area like a D zone, an A zone, X zone, all those flood zones we are writing in. Doesn't matter if it's on the beach or inland, we write in all those different areas. The second thing that we do when an agent enters an address, though, is calculate the premium. Not only are we saying yes or no, but we are also generating a premium in real time. If we look at a state like Oregon, you're going to see different size circles on the screen. And that is actually indicative of the size of the premium. So we're not only doing risk selection, but also risk pricing in real time. The last thing we do has to do with our carriers. Every time you see a flash on the screen, you're seeing these circles radiate out across the page. What we're actually doing is calculating our total risk in an area and making sure we're assigning it properly to our carriers. A lot of private flood companies out there only have one carrier. So if there is a very large flood event, it could put a lot of pressure on their reinsurance and capacity providers. With Neptune, we have 4 different capacity providers represented by these buckets down in the bottom left-hand corner. These all represent, we have 2 syndicates of Lloyd's of London. We also have AXA XL, which is through Indian Harbor, and Transverse. So we're able to spread out our risks. So if we have 100 policies in Miami or 100 policies in Houston, we're able to spread that risk out 25, 25, 25, make sure it's spread out among our carriers in that area and really reduce the risk for our reinsurance partners and really ensure that we're able to continue writing for you and your insureds in that area. And if there is a claim, we're able to respond a lot quicker. So that's that page here. I'm going to go ahead and actually hop over to I was going to hop over to the quoting page, but actually I'm going to pass it off to Shane because I want him to show you the Attune side and how you go through and access that. And then after he goes through that, we'll go into the Neptune side.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. Just get my screen up here. Did it come through okay?
Yeah.
Yep, I see it here.
Awesome. So hopefully everyone is familiar with the Attune page here. To get a quote, as Morgan said in the beginning, it's extremely easy, couple minutes tops. What you need to do is you need to start by creating an account. So I'm just going to call this Shane Flood 4 because I was doing a couple of demos before this. 5. And then as you see, what our system does is it kind of tries to help you out as you go in case you aren't familiar. If you see the address as it pops up, makes it even faster and pulls up right for you. Description of business, this is optional. For class of business, I'll say this is a restaurant. So there are 2 options here. So say you're coming to Attune just for a flood quote. What you can do is obviously you can see the other products that we offer, but at the very bottom here is just to get directly into Neptune's portal. So what you would do is click get a quote. This will give you a few tips and tricks and some interesting facts that you might need to know. Continue to Neptune, and then this will bring you to the Neptune agent portal and where you can complete the rest of your quote, fill in other information, and then go ahead and either bind or sell to the client. I know a few folks mentioned about personal lines already. I'll do that after the next example. It's just as easy. So say in this case, you were coming to Attune and you wanted to do a BOP first. So I'll do just flood 5. Same thing. Say it's a restaurant. Here we are. So what you would do is you click into the BOP quote. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go through the whole BOP flow because I'm sure a lot of you are very familiar with it. And I really want to focus on the flood product at the moment. But you would go through the BOP flow. If for some reason, maybe you don't have the answer to a question or you need to come back to the BOP another time, all you would do is need to click cancel here. And this still creates the account. And what it does is it will still ping the Neptune Flood API and you'll be able to get a quote right here. So we have the premium that's pulled off the address already right on the BOP card. If you complete the BOP, you would also have a BOP quote right here and then your flood quote. Same thing as if you were on the front page, you just click view quote, gives you the same tips, tricks, and FAQs. Continue to Neptune. And this allows you to go through with the commercial product. The way our portal is set up at the moment, Alex, I promise we'll pass back over to you to go into detail, is Attune only offers or is synced up to their commercial product at the moment. But Neptune offers a variety of other products, including personal lines. I know that's a very hot topic. All you would need to do to get to the personal lines product is either click the Neptune agency portal at the top here or the Poseidon icon at the top left. By clicking that here, what this does is will allow you to enter the address here, click create a quote, and then you'll be able to select all the products that Neptune offers. So Attune, we are appointed to offer personal lines as Neptune offers it. It's just our portal is not set up for that as of yet. But with that, I'll pass it back over to Alex to go into the details of what the actual quote flow on a Neptune portal is.
Thank you, Shane. Let me go ahead and pull that page up. I got your quote here. And we're back on the page that Shane was showing. So right when you get into this side of the page, you're going to see a rate down here in the bottom right-hand corner. That's just really what we try to do, is give you that price discovery. We really want to give you that information quickly. We talked a little bit about the replacement cost estimate and valuation with the NFIP. They require these documents and steps just to go ahead and get that new risk rated quote. We really try to provide all that information in real time so you can sell flood more efficiently, effectively, and on a more consistent basis. There are a lot of interesting little points here that I do want to show you. Starting at the very top of the page, we do have this Google map, which shows you the building we are quoting. And you can actually move this map around and take a look on the street view. And this is a very interactive map right on your quoting page where you can see all this information. And we can see this building here. And this is the one we want to quote. We're all set and good to go from there. As well, we have our quote number, and our quotes are valid for 60 days in the system, after which they would expire. You could always reping the Neptune API to regenerate a quote, or run another BOP or run another model line if that ever does expire, but just keep that in the back of your mind about that 60-day validity point. Down here, we do have our inception date. The NFIP has a 30-day waiting period for flood. We have a 10-day waiting period, so we can get coverage into effect a little bit faster. But you also have the ability to waive that 10-day wait. Say you have a closing happening next Monday, the 16th. You can go ahead and waive our 10-day wait either for a closing or for a renewal. And that is a very important factor because the NFIP doesn't let you waive that 30-day wait for a renewal. We do allow you to waive our 10-day wait for that reason. All you need to provide is either a closing statement or a prior deck page though. At this point, we can go ahead and scroll down. We do allow prior flood losses as long as it's one loss less than 25,000. If it's one loss for 25,000 or more than one loss, we would reject that property, basically looking at severity and frequency. All we ask is that you do your due diligence and ask the insured this question. We're not looking for a loss history report. We're really just looking that you go ahead and ask the insured, and to the best of their knowledge, they answer this question. Scrolling on down, you will see the year built, square footage, and flood zone pre-populate. This is definitely an area to take your time and verify the information. We do pre-fill it to make it easier for you in the system, but you're gonna see here, this is all the premium questions. So definitely take your time on the 10 to 15 questions that are there just to make sure everything is accurate. If it's actually 1995, you can make that change. If it's actually 1700, you can change that as well. We even give you the ability to edit flood zone. We're going to be accurate about 99% of the time. But in the case where maybe a bank has a different determination, you do have the ability to go ahead and edit that flood zone. Underneath flood zone, you are going to see, I want to upload an EC, which stands for elevation certificate. There's a lot of talk in the industry about elevation certificates. Neptune doesn't require them, and now the NFIP also does not require elevation certificates. However, they are still extremely important. The NFIP and Neptune were both using satellite imagery and other data sources to get a very close estimate of what that elevation difference is. But having someone who can go out into the field and measure that is always beneficial. And the great thing is if you enter in an EC and it helps the rate, then you can go ahead and leave that in there. If it does not help the rate, say it goes from $943 to $1,500, you can take that out with no penalty. So if you have an elevation certificate available, definitely try to utilize it because it cannot hurt your rate. You can always take it out and be right back to where you started. Now, if you have to go out and pay $1,000 to obtain an elevation certificate, then it may not be worth it. And it's nice that Neptune does not require them. For the remaining questions, we do not pre-fill or answer these for you. It is currently set for wood frame, but that is just what we pre-filled to at the start. But you can go ahead and answer that question by looking at the Google map or answering based on what the insured has provided. This is either steel frame or maybe it's wood frame. I don't really know. So I'm going to go with other or unsure, and I'm going to choose that option here. You're going to see it did not even change my premium. So always a viable option to choose other or unsure. It does not have a basement. It is one floor, and the insured does own this. So I can now scroll down to the final 4 questions related to the coverage. You're going to see that we do have a minimum building coverage amount of 50,000, but we do go all the way up to that NFIP max we talked about earlier of 500,000. As well, we do 8 times that amount of coverage by going all the way up to 4 million, which is our current max building coverage available for the non-residential product. As mentioned, a lot of our claims in IDA were above that $500,000 limit. So definitely take advantage of these higher coverage options. About 60% of our entire book is actually over the NFIP limits. So a lot of insureds are looking for more coverage. And even with that higher coverage, we tend to be extremely competitive on premium. In many cases, we could have higher coverage in the NFIP and still be beating them on rate. So definitely something to consider for your client, maybe run a few quotes and offer them out. For contents coverage, we do go all the way up to 500,000. And then the last thing I want to show on the coverages here is iRent. This is what I was referring to with contents only. You can actually go ahead and bring that building coverage past our minimum of 50,000 all the way down to 0 when you select iRent. And then you can do that contents only policy with a minimum of 50,000 all the way up to 500,000. I'm going to go ahead and bring that back to iOwn. And now we can go ahead and choose our deductible from $1,250 to $50,000. And we have our last question that is premium related, which is business interruption. I talked a little bit about loss of rent coverage. That is specifically for apartment buildings. This BI coverage is going to stay here. You'll notice that we provide $500 a day for up to 50 days. That comes out to $25,000 in BI coverage. About 8 to 9% of our policyholders currently have this added on, which shows that not only is this something that insureds are looking for and agents are able to sell, but also that we're very competitive on price. Agents are able to add this additional premium and still compete with other markets. At this point, now you can just go ahead and enter your named insured, primary contact information, email, phone number, and you could add your mailing address and add up to 3 mortgagees or additional interests. If you want to pull a quote to send off your client, you can go ahead and click view quote, and we'll pull up a PDF copy with your agency's contact information listed at the bottom. And on the second page, you're going to notice that we have a page dedicated to stating that we meet all the mandatory requirements for private flood. So lenders are required to accept us as an alternative to the NFIP. Go ahead and exit out of that quote. And now we can go ahead and bind. Before I bind, I do want to show you a little bit of what Shane was talking about going out into the other parts of the portal to run a quote. So in this example, I'm just going to go ahead and save my address or my quote number. I'm going to click the commercial tab and I'm back on my main page. You can always click your recent history and see all the policies that you've run in the system. You can sort by product type if you just want to see your non-residential products, just want to see your personal lines products, you can pull that up, search by quote number, insured name, or address. If you want to go ahead and run a residential quote, you can go ahead, type that into the address bar up top, and you will be able to go ahead and create that quote. And at this point, you can choose from all of our different product types with our personal lines product, our CVAP for condos. We have mixed use, apartments, non-residential, and hotels, motels, and inns. If I want to go ahead and go back to my quote, I'm going to go ahead and type in my quote number. Oh, I have it set to one home. Let me go all product types. There's my quote. I can come back right back in. There was no save button I need to press. Verify my effective date, my coverage, and now I can go ahead and press bind. Not only do we make the quoting and binding process very easy, but also the document and signing and payment process is also very streamlined for you. You can go ahead and sign as the agent at this point. Type in your name, sign that here, and you'll see sign as the agent. So this is for you. And then you can click continue and bring you to a payment page. You as the agent do not need to submit payment, but if the insured gave you that ACH credit card or check information, you can go ahead and do so. But you can actually skip right over this and go right into the policy. Payment is not due at the time of bind with Neptune. It is due by the effective date, which is why it says due in 4 days. As well, even if you don't get payment in by May 16th, we do have a 30-day period post-effective date before a policy will void. I always highly encourage it by the effective date, but just keep that in mind. There is a 30-day period to get that payment in. If it's not in with that 30-day period, that policy will void for non-payment. On this page, though, we can go ahead and see breakdown of the building itself. We can go ahead and take a look at the invoice, which is automatically generated for us already. You can scroll down and see the entire policy jacket, even prior to making payment, all 38 pages available to you. Just pull your deck page. You can pull your application if you want to go ahead and send it off via DocuSign. If you don't want to use our signature system, you could also pull a surplus lines document as well. Now, if we go over here, we can see our policy number. You can see it's not been paid yet. It's not been signed by the insured, but the agent has signed it. We have our insured location, contact, insured name, contact information, and agency information. Last thing I want to show you is what we send to the insured. This is for the insured's email. So if I go over to my email, we will see what was sent out to the insured, just to give you an idea of what your insureds are receiving from Neptune, so you are able to talk them through that. They will receive this email, welcome to Neptune Flood, and they can actually go ahead and click on the link to sign into the, log into the portal, and they can actually go ahead and sign and pay for their policy online. So here you can see that they do have the ability to acknowledge that payment within 30 days, acknowledge the loss history, waiting period, and all these other disclosures and information that they will need to sign. Once they sign, they can go ahead and be brought to the payment page, or they can submit their own payment by ACH, credit card, or check, and they can go ahead and enter that here.
Alex, I don't mean to interrupt, and I apologize for not remembering on hand. But we have a few people asking if there are payment plans offered.
So we do not have a specific payment plan. Flood insurance is generally due in full. That's the same with the NFIP as it is with Neptune. On the commercial side, though, we do allow premium financing. If you have a situation like that where you need a premium finance, you're going to want to reach out to support@neptuneflood.com, which is where I'm going to go ahead and put that email into the chat box as well. And they'll be able to direct you to me. I'm going to put my email as well if you want to reach out directly. There are a few additional requirements when you want a premium finance. We don't provide it ourselves, but they're always allowed to use a third party. But flood insurance is going to be due in full. Same with the NFIP, as with Neptune, as with other private carriers in most cases. Speaking of payment, I can go ahead and pay by credit card here through the insured's point of view. And now I can go ahead and submit that payment. And they can go ahead and view their policy as well. And they have access to their policy jacket, deck page, and they see all that information here. On the agent side, you obviously have a little bit more functionality. Once I refresh the page here, you can see that everything's been taken care of. But now you as the agent, you can endorse it. You have a little bit more ability to upload documents and take care of things that need to be done on the portal. That is really a full breakdown of the Neptune side, whether it be trying to run a residential quote, any of our other product types, running a quote through the Attune portal when you bridge over, quoting, policy management. I see a lot of questions that come through. I haven't had a chance to look at them, but it looks like a lot of these questions are getting answered. But I'm gonna go ahead and pause. And Jean-Luc, the rest of the team here, any questions we should bring up now?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. There was two questions related to the same topic in the chat feature, and that is both were around lenders and who accepts and who does not accept Neptune as a private alternative for the NFIP. And so right now, majority of the lending institutions in the United States must accept Neptune and other private flood companies, so long as they have the mandatory acceptance language. Alex, as I'm talking, can you navigate to a deck page, please? The mandatory acceptance language is a requirement by Bigger Waters Act of 2012 to establish private flood. The magic language here is at the top of the deck page. So if a lender is ever asking you, you can point them to the direction is that we do meet the definition of private flood. Now, that said, there are two lending institutions that give private flood in general, or have not yet accepted private flood in general. One is the FHA. The FHA makes up about 20% of loans in the United States. They have promulgated the rules to accept private flood. However, they have not picked a date by which they will do that yet. Our hope is that they will do that here during the summer season. And as soon as we have more information from the Biden administration, we will absolutely be doing a special email blast around it, a post in the Agent Hub portal. We will make sure that everyone knows that FHA loans are now accepted for private flood. Don't be surprised, though, if you come across an FHA loan where they do accept private flood. And the reason that that may occur here or there, as we have seen it, is because they have promulgated the rules. They just haven't picked a date yet. The other one, which makes up about 3% of the lending industry, is the VA. The VA has not even promulgated rules yet, so it's highly unlikely that they will accept private flood as an alternative to the NFIP. So I hope that helps answers both Jamie and I think Brian picked those questions out. I'm happy to go further if you have anything more on that topic.
We do have a question about premium finance. Do you honor the premium finance company's cancellation requests? Definitely recommend. That's why I said reach out to myself. If we do know that it's for premium finance, we have a copy of the premium finance agreement. We have them added as an additional interest. We will honor those cancellation requests. But it's definitely something you need to be directing to myself and our support team so we can have eyes on it, because as the system is automated, generally speaking, it will need someone from the Neptune side to manually override that and get that process going. So like I said, definitely just reach out to us when you run into those situations, as we'll be able to better help navigate that for you.
There's another question just around policy fees. Alex mentioned this briefly, but maybe it's just good to quickly highlight this across the board. The commercial lines policy fee is generally $300. That's for new business and renewal. Personal lines on average is $100 for new business and renewal. However, some states like New Jersey have a $50 policy fee. So there are some states that have less than that. And then there are some states that may have a slightly higher than $100. And an example of that is Louisiana at $125. Like the NFIP, based on when it comes to units, if you were doing a unit-based property, the policy fee may also increase higher than $300 on the commercial side. But it maxes out or caps out like the NFIP at $800. So hopefully, Deborah, that helps answer that question around policy fees.
I did see a question in here I did want to cover as well about commercial risk. Can you include multiple buildings on one policy? That's a very good question. We do not include multiple buildings on one policy, similar to the NFIP. They do not allow multiple buildings on one policy. We do, however, allow or make it very easy for you to quote multiple policies. This is actually a little Excel sheet we have for our multi-location wins. This one right here is actually, this one is non-residential, multi-state for 20 policies. And whenever that happens, we definitely recommend that you reach out to myself. I spend about 40% of my day working on multi-location accounts. What we can do, even though it's one policy per building, we can simplify the application process. We can simplify the payment process. We really help you work on that. So definitely reach out to myself at alex@neptuneflood.com. When you have apartment complexes, condo complexes, even if it's non-residential, multiple locations for a restaurant or a manufacturing or retail, we can definitely help you with that. We win a lot of those business by really offering competitive rates and making it easy on the agent by helping with the underwriting and also that post-bind process.
Looks like we have a question here about Attune accepting agency checks. Elaine, great question. Attune will not accept the checks on behalf of the insured, as they have to enter in, either yourself or the insured has to enter in the information on the Neptune portal. If you were to enter your agency check to pay for the policy, that's fine. Attune's not going to stop you, but we're not going to help facilitate you collecting money from the insured. I hope that answers your question.
And I'm just putting in another one about the carriers. You can see that in the chat box: Lloyd's, Indian Harbor, backed by AXA XL, and Transverse. For commercial apartments, can you cover carports that are wood frame construction? As long as they're buildings, yes, we do a lot of garages and the little garages that are common on apartment complexes. Just has to be walled and roofed. So it really just depends if it meets the definition of a building. But yes, we do write those on a pretty consistent basis. I think we got most of the questions, but let me know if I missed any here.
I think there's one asking to repeat who the carrier partners are that you have backing you.
Yep, I put that in there. It was Lloyd's, Indian Harbor, and Transverse.
Sorry, I had to scroll down.
Well, I do want to thank the Attune team for having us, and also everyone that joined. Definitely appreciate being able to talk about our two programs and how we're working together to really make small business insurance a little bit easier to obtain. Definitely a big thank you from the Neptune side, but anything else we need to touch on here?
I think I'm all set from my side. Thank you all for coming. Jean-Luc, Alex, as always, it's a pleasure. Please feel free to reach out to either Attune or Neptune. We have a chat function if you have any questions. We have a full team staffed, happy to answer. Same with Neptune. No question is a dumb question, but thank you for the time today.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate it.
Alex, I'll wait until you're done. Oh, you finished next.
I just said the answer already. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We'll send out a recording of this webinar and the deck afterwards. So keep an eye out for your email in the next 24 hours.
Have a great evening, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.